Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Steel Roses podcast. This podcast is created for women by women to elevate women's voices. Today, I have a very special guest with us. We have Nurse Blue on with us today. Nurse Blue is an RN. She's a soul health and wellness expert and the author of the book, Freedom is a Frequency, a musicology joy journal that includes the 5 simple steps to elevate your energy, health, peace, confidence, relationships, and abundance with joy. She specializes in helping women defeat chronic stress holistically with mastering the art and science of joy. Nurse Blue has developed a 5-step method to elevating and activating our freedom frequency by utilizing tools like musicology, meditation, and detoxification. Nurse Blue, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you so much, Jenny, for having me here. I'm so excited to be on Steel Roses. I have arrived, girl.
I'm like so thrilled to have you on. Listeners, what you didn't hear is some of the back and forth between me and Nurse Blue, because every time I get her on the phone, we just start chatting, and then I'm like, oh wait, we need to record an episode here. So she's such a light. It must have been. We must have been kindred. We must have been relatives for sure, sisters in another life, because this is like, it's like too much, the energy alignment. I would love for you to share your story with the listeners today. I know it because I've been reading and researching you and looking at your book and everything. But if you could share a little bit of your story and then how you got into the focus that you got into today.
Thank you. I would love to share my story. So first of all, hello to your listening audience. I am Nurse Blue, and Blue stands for Build, Love, Unite, and Empower People, about my favorite subject, hopefully soon to be yours, soul health. And so I'm just really here to live up to my name. But I live here in Orlando, Florida, and I am a person that absolutely adores learning about health and wellness strategies that will lead us back to a state of wholeness. And as a nurse and as a wellness coach, I would say I was born in Chicago. So it actually started, my soul health journey started back in Chicago. My second home was a radio station, a news talk station that started out as music, but it was like my research center for people. And as a child, I didn't realize that throughout this journey that I was actually being developed to serve people in learning how to find freedom within. And so naturally, growing up in a radio station, my father thought I was going to work for the company. And I was like, no, I'm not going to work for you. So I wanted to work with people in a place where I wanted to work with people in a place where I could serve, but not work for my father at the same time. So I went into nursing, absolutely fell in love with learning about the human body and all that. And then guess what, Jenny? Came back and started working for my father. Integrating, still came back working for him. I did, but with the nursing process, right? And what I didn't realize at the time was that it helped actually lead me to solving problems around chronic stress, which is our number one enemy in this world, right? So early in my 20s, when I was working for my father, serving our business clients in terms of providing wellness solutions for their business at the time, but kind of from a nursing perspective, I was diagnosed with a chronic disease, an autoimmune deficiency, psoriasis. And there are millions of people from around the world that have it. And with all of the information that I had learned from, becoming a bachelor's or earning a bachelor's of science degree in nursing, nothing could help me based on the options that I was given by my physician at the time. And there are millions of people who struggle with autoimmune disorders. And here are the options that traditional medicine provide us. It's a life sentence. And here's a medication to relieve you of the signs and symptoms. Now, I knew enough to know that if you are on medication for the rest of your life, chances are it was going to impact my vital organs. And everyone needs a heart, a kidney, a liver, and all the things you've been given. You need them to stay as healthy as possible. So that immediately led me to look for some wellness solutions. And that's how the soul health and wellness journey started for me. Embracing holistic ways to find out why this chronic stress was my trigger. And from that point, the soul health journey for me on a personal level was born. So I went on to just dive deeply into who this enemy was, because so many people don't realize that chronic stress, it's our number one killer because it creates chronic disease. So I needed to know what this killer was, how it impacts us, its insidious ways it takes over our lives. And what I realized is that it is a soul health condition, and it manifests as disease or dis-ease in the body. Right. And so that's how my journey began. And I have been running with this thing I would say it's been a lifelong assignment. For a big cause, and how to give people the answers to chronic stress.
So I wholeheartedly agree. I have gone on a journey over the past couple of years where I think it started about 6 years ago or so, when we just started taking healthier choices and steps at home, just because we were seeing, like, it started with my husband. He started getting all these like really horrible stomach issues, and just like nothing was sitting well with him. I was, after the birth of my twins, I was obese, basically, because I had back-to-back pregnancies. Like, my body went out of control. Just things were just not good. And I was feeling it in my everyday life, and he was feeling it. And so we started taking like steps to living healthier lifestyles. And now it's funny because I used to tease I have a relative that she went on a similar journey just maybe like a decade before me. And so when I started coming around, and now I'm like vegetarian and majority gluten free, and I'm like yoga and meditation and all this stuff. And she like makes fun of me. She's like, I cannot believe that this is what we're talking about now, because I was not the person to do that. But when you really start to look at it, and that's just on like a, I wasn't feeling well, so I had to do something. On a larger scale, you can treat very serious diseases with like holistic methods. And I'm not poo-pooing medicine, because I mean, we both are. You're an RN. Like, I'm an advocate for pharmaceuticals. I think they're great. I think medicine is important. But there's another component here that, like, if you're going to treat something, you have to treat the whole body. So you had said in some of the materials that I read through, the soul is the true software system of the human body.
Oh, absolutely.
So a little bit more about that. Like, how does that translate for the listeners?
Absolutely. So you hear these concepts about mind, body, and soul, right? The soul, I always describe it as the invisible organ. And just like every organ in your body, whether it's your brain or your heart, what have you, it has to have its nutrients. It has to be nurtured. It has to be nourished, and it has to detox, right? And the soul is made up of 3 parts. It's made up of our subconscious mind. That's like the garden of our thoughts. So depending on what you're thinking, how positive they are you depositing positive seeds in that garden? And quite frankly, seeds have been deposited our entire lives into that garden. Are they flowers or are they weeds, right? Are they working for you or they're not? Then you have your emotional body. And that's where it's a little bit, that's the part of us that many people are unfamiliar with. But the thoughts and those emotions, that's what's creating our reality that we're living in right now. And this is not, anything I'm introducing. I mean, there's so much scientific evidence out here to support that. And then it's the third component. It's our will. Well, those are our daily habits. That's our patterns of behavior. Now, when all 3 of those are in alignment, sweetheart, guess what? You are living your best life. But when they're not in alignment, there's a lot of dis-ease that can come from that. And how it manifests itself is, you're having stress, you have a lot more fear in your life, or it might manifest as a chronic disease that many people are suffering from. That's why heart disease is largely the number one killer, cancer, as I mentioned before, autoimmune deficiencies. So what soul health is learning how to love your soul back to a state of wholeness. And most people don't know what a soul is. They've heard it. You know, in my culture, we're known our food is soul food, soul music. You may have heard of that, but really, where does that come from? And what people have to understand is that health doesn't start with the body. You are multidimensional. So we have to go to the source of where the problem or the dis-ease may, where it's occurring, right? And so it goes back to what I teach my clients first and foremost. To address the issue of the soul, you have to start with the understanding that you are made of energy. So we have to start with the source that you're not a human being. You are a spiritual being with a soul, and that soul has a human body. And so when you know how to take care of the soul and elevate the frequency of the soul vibrationally, oh baby, that's when you're living your best life. And when you have to understand the art and the science of that. People fall in love with the art, but it's a real science behind that. And so what I do is introduce people to the tools and the modalities that will be soothing, nourishing, healthy, detoxify, can aid you in detoxifying the issues of the soul. And that's what soul health is all about. Learning how to love your soul back to health.
It's very interesting because I remember like when my first like toe dip into the pond was like I was 26. Or no, wait, I was 25, and somebody had given me that book, The Secret, and was like, check this out, I think you're gonna like it. And I was very, at that time, like, I was incredibly skeptical and was like, please, this isn't based in reality, this is ridiculous. What kind of hippie, like, and I was really, but then I was like, you know what, like, what is it going to hurt you to like try this out? Like, just try it out. So I started like with just being like, at the time I was single, and I was like, let me like try this out. Let's see if this is legitimate. So like for roughly about a year, I was going through this process of meditating on like the person I wanted to be with. What kind of person is he? What kind of values does he have? And then to get really granular, because the method in the book was like, you need to be really detailed when you're meditating or visualizing something, be incredibly detailed on it. And so I even pictured the kind of job I wanted him to have, just just different things that I was like, these elements are important to me. And I did it for about a year, and then I was like, all right, I didn't see anything happen. I'm still just by myself, like not, whatever. And literally, I'm not even kidding you, about 7 days after I had that thought of like, this isn't doing anything, like just forget it, I met my husband like 7 days later. And it was almost like somebody recently told me, because I had shared that story. Yeah. And somebody recently had said to me, there is almost like a gap where when you are meditating, when you're visualizing, when you're taking those steps, you also have to release it. You can focus as much as you want on like what you want and everything, but you can't, there's a part of you that has to let go of, I'm not controlling this. I'm not forcing this into reality. I need to release this back out into the universe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it happened with him. And then like, I've been practicing over the past, like we've been together for like 14 years. So I've been keeping up and growing on how I do meditations. And most recently, we had a big financial thing that was coming up, and I used the same method. And for about 6 months or so, I was just focusing on, I was like, I don't know where this money's going to come from, but I'm going to get it. And it's going to happen. I was like, I don't know where it's coming from, but the bill is due on this date. So it's going to have to come. And it showed up. Like, it just showed it. And it's interesting. And it wasn't just like, oh, yeah, it wasn't like, oh, it just like, oh, I opened my account and one day it was there. No, like there was like steps that I physically had to take, but it was an alignment of steps it was an alignment of steps that were really random, that I didn't know what it was leading to. And then it led to, okay, here you go. Here's the gift. So there's like a whole part of that.
Girl, it's a technology that is so fascinating. And we've always had it. We just have not been taught how to use it. We have not been taught how incredibly made we are. And, the reality of it is what I'm so excited about now is that so many people are coming aware. We are becoming aware of our power. There has been this boom toward spiritual health and wellness, which is soul health, because you are a spiritual being. How can you be a spiritual being and not know how to operate your spiritual self? Operating your spiritual self. You are a spiritual being that has a human body that is absolutely incredible. But, we focus on the hardware, but this is the software. And this is the part of us where you'll find all the magic. You know what I mean? And as you mentioned before, part of the process is being able to surrender and let go, because that's the faith part of the soul. That's you being confident and moving into a state of abundance, knowing that whatever you just asked for in your power, in your authority, is coming back to you. So now you can focus on something else.
It's coming.
Once you put that cake in the oven in about whatever the recipe might
it's suggest, coming out.
It's in 25 or 30 minutes, it's going to be done. That's how we have to create our lives and learn that technology. And what I realize is that, and knowing how to use that, you can use it to reverse conditions of health. You can use it to prevent conditions of health. And that's why chronic stress, honey, is afraid of Nurse Blue. I am defeating our number one killer out here.
You know what? Thank God, because, not for nothing, but like people don't really realize like the effect that when you are chronically stressed all the time, like it affects your health overall. It's going to affect how you look. So especially for women, it's not as prevalent in men. And correct me if I'm wrong here, because you have the medical background, but and I pretend to have a medical background. But in women, stress manifests on your face. Like it brings wrinkles. Like if you're living a high stress lifestyle, like you're going to see that effect in your skin. Like you're going to see it in your hair. Like, and then outside of the physical parts, it does start to darken your soul a little bit, and it starts to dim your light, because it's crazy. Like that effect is 100 times over.
Let's take a quick break.
Are you interested in podcasting but not sure where to start? My name is Jenny Benitez, and I'm here to help guide you through your podcast launch and maintenance. Check out the link in the episode description for Podcasting Unboxed, your comprehensive startup guide. I am very excited to work with you.
It's so dangerous, Jenny. Absolutely. You're absolutely right. It is so dangerous because what we don't understand about energy is that it can be transferred. So if you have a partner and all day long your partner is complaining and criticizing and operating in a state of dis-ease, and you don't have to say anything, just be in their presence long enough and let that poison start being projected toward you. Because when people have chronic stress, we do things to get rid of it. And I say that because I struggled with it for so many years. And so what people don't understand, I struggle, coming from childhood, bullying, any kind of abuse. I suffered from, traumas of divorce, losing a child, death of a best friend, death of my father. I mean, these are things that just come with planet Earth. Not to mention the fact that if our parents, if they didn't know what to do with their chronic stress, guess what they inadvertently did? They transferred all their ignorance about it onto us. And so we're second generation and third generations of chronic stress, because a lot of it comes from their patterns and beliefs. And chronic stress is rooted in fear, period. So once we learn how to understand how to defeat chronic stress, and that's why I wrote the book, Freedom is a Frequency. That's freedom. I'm talking about emancipating yourself on a soul level. Much of us, many of
Mm-hmm.
us, particularly women, the reason why it shows up in our face and all of that, because we don't know how to process it. With chronic stress, what happens is your body is staying in a constant state of fight or flight. So stress is just going to come along with living on planet Earth. You wake up late. Someone cuts you off while you're on the road, or, even if you watch a movie, like people who like horror movies, I don't know why they do, but they do. And all of a sudden, you have a little bit of stress because you can't do it. They have a little bit of a stress because it's a scene where somebody's about to get killed. That's a little bit. That's a stress thing. That's acute stress. But we were not designed to live in a state of fight or flight for years, holding on to things, repressing our truth, denying what we feel, putting on the I feel good, and you're decorating chronic stress. That's what we've learned to do. We've learned to decorate it. We've learned how to numb it. We've learned how to take the pill. And the pill might be a physical pill.
Mm-hmm.
It could be more alcohol. It could be a shopping pill. It could be a sexual pill. It could be whatever it is to help us numb chronic stress. That's not working for us. And so what happens is we start breaking down, because once chronic stress starts ruling your soul, honey, guess what it does? It goes and gets cortisol and raises her all the way up. Now, when she steps into the fold, that one there, she is coming to do damage, girl, on your heart. That's why heart disease is number one. She's coming for your midsection, so she goes and get fat belly Felicia.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Your joints.
Your joints.
Yeah, it's like everything. It's everything.
That's why I'm like, why are we managing a killer? Why are we coping with this killer? We have to defeat her, because many people are dying sooner than what they need. People are dying before their time, or living for many years, increasing in prescription to manage something that if you only knew how to align your soul with peace, with joy, with love, with learning how to release the soul toxins, because that's what happens with chronic stress. Chronic stress is actually created by joy killers. Those are the people, places, and things, the thoughts, the emotions, the traumas that kill your joy. And those joy killers are rooted in soul toxins. Now, soul toxins are the lower emotional states. And actually, there's a doctor. I love to talk about great doctors, honey. I'm a nurse. I love to introduce great doctors. Dr. David R. Hawkins, he's a psychiatrist. He was doing work back in the 50s and 60s, but he wrote around, the map of consciousness. And he created this scale that every woman, Jenny, should have. And it's called the map of consciousness scale. And you're able to measure your emotional state. Well, listen, honey, it's hard being a woman, because you're taking care of not just yourself, which is hard enough, but every child you have, you're going to take care of that child, even if the father is present. And even if you have a spouse, guess what? You're going to take care of him. And then we are a support to our sisters and our mothers and everyone. And then we go and get more jobs. We want to volunteer. We want to be active in the community. We want to have our own damn business. And I just don't understand, because the Proverbs 31 woman did everything. We do everything. Okay. All right. So we do it. We're every woman. That's all in us. So our soul is like, okay, you need me to do all of this, but you don't even know who I am. And it's time for us to learn how to become refueled. So refueling means learning how to release the soul toxins of shame, or guilt, or anger, or fear, or desire, because actually desire is actually coming out of a state of scarcity. When on a soul level, a soul level, your original energetic frequency is love. So when we separate from, or don't know that we are love, or how to demonstrate in who we are as a spiritual being, fear grabs hold to us. And that becomes the soul toxin that so many people globally, especially now, are living in. And so that's why we have the increase in numbers for social anxiety, for internal personal anxiety. I mean, the world is shifting so much on the outside of us, and we have not been taught soul health. And when you're looking at the news every day, let me tell you what you're looking at. You're looking at soul toxins that are expressing themselves as killers, rapists, whatever you're looking at that you don't like. Those are soul toxins that have taken over.
And you can feel it. You can actually feel it when you're watching. I mean, my husband has this habit that drives me a little bit bananas, and I'm going to share it with you because I'm not on social media.
Yeah.
For a lot of reasons. I'm just not on. Can't do it. One of the big reasons is that he sits next to me. Yeah. Oh my God. I literally, like, I can't. He sits next to me and he starts kind of just scrolling through things. And it's like these little news stories of this, or where, you know, like we have the people out there now that are like recording each other and then kind of picking fights with each other and like being like, well, I have a right to, and you see it. You see these people that go out with the sole intention of stirring up something just so they can catch it on video. And when he sits next to me and he's doing his own thing and I'm working and he starts playing those videos, I literally will say to him, like, you need to leave the room or you got to take that somewhere else. Like, I can feel the bad energy coming off and I'm like, it's getting me worked up. I cannot have that around me. I'm like, I can't.
Absolutely. But you know what, Jenny? Aside from what we're feeling on the inside, you know, the soul is fed by music, which is why I'm a sound healer and a musicologist, because as a vibrational being, anything that feeds your mind and your emotions and offer you an opportunity to improve your behavior is a soul. It impacts your soul. And you have people who are doing, you know, who are engaging in meditation and journaling and incorporating yoga and all of those wonderful modalities into their space. But now, as we're doing this and we're adopting this as a civilization into our culture, we're cleaning up our soul. So what you are doing, you're becoming empathic, where you can feel energy in spaces. You can go somewhere and you need to know how to feel energy now, especially, and teach your children, because there are so many things that are happening in our world right now where you need to be able to have your internal antennas on and trust them. You need to know how to trust your instincts and your intuition as a woman, as a person, but definitely as a woman like never before. Right. And the more we clean out, and the more you clean out your soul, and what I mean is be willing to go inward and learn how to love it and release stuff that doesn't belong there and grow up inside. Honey, you will have so much joy. And why settle for happy when you can have joy?
Yeah.
You know, we want to be happy, but joy is where it's at.
And, you know, just for like clarification for the listeners, we're not talking about like, if you take this path, you're going to be joyful at all times of the day. That's not a realistic expectation.
No.
That's not real. What we're saying is like, you're basically unclogging the pipes. Yes. And like letting the joy flow. You're going to have times where things are stressful. Right before we started recording, Nurse Blue and I both like commiserated. We're like, it's been a rough couple of weeks. You know, like it happens. I have days where I have days where I yell at my kids, flip out. My husband and I have a fight, whatever. Stress, this, that. Yeah, it happens. Absolutely. However, I don't let that rule my whole life. No. It's just a moment.
Absolutely. Now, and you're absolutely right. See, joy is a nutritional supplement that most people don't understand that that's a nutrient that helps you get through Earth, where it anchors you in such a way where it's like a treasure within. And we have been taught and programmed to chase happy. Well, happy usually is chasing something outside of yourself. You're looking for something else to be the answer. A person, a place, a thing, a sensation, whatever it might be. Joy is an innate sense of self-worth that makes you feel good about yourself, It also helps to sustain you during those rough times. And it's such a high vibrational feeling and emotion that it really teaches you how to create boundaries for yourself that keeps you in alignment with balance and for other people. And it's one that helps me live up to my name. When you're in a state of joy, you're constantly building yourself and others because you understand the importance of
Mm-hmm.
that. You're constantly in a state of love because here's the powerful thing about joy is that it's, first of all, it's in scripture. It says a joyful heart is medicine. So why question that? We should have known that it was
I mean,
right
it's right
just
there.
from that statement. It's right
It's
there,
right there.
And then it says a crushed spirit, which is a broken spirit, is dry to the bone. So you know that's a disease or death, right? So the answer is there. It's all
We don't
around us.
want that.
But there's over like 430 scriptures that speak specifically to joy. So we know it's something there. But more so than anything, what joy does, it sustains us in love. Because once you reconnect back to your original frequency, according to the map of consciousness scale that David Hawkins created, 540 is at a level of joy, right? And 500 is love. So once you get to love, to sustain it, you reach joy. And now you're constantly in a state of peace. Because that's what you really want. Earth is earth. It doesn't matter how much money you have, where you live, what you look like, who you choose to believe in, vote for, whatever. Earth is going to it's going to be earthing. And what does that mean? It's going to be growing us up. And part of the growth is coming back to the understanding of the truth of who you are. And so the more we begin to align with that, we can solve. Honey, let me tell you why I'm doing what I'm doing. I was born to do this because, quite frankly, I'm here to help create heaven on earth because I refuse to live in hell. Do you hear me? And if that means getting rid of chronic stress, because that's the only thing that is separating us from having chronic stress, from having heaven on earth. Chronic stress has too much power. And we don't understand what it's taking from us, how it's destroying our lives, our bodies, our careers, how we feel about ourselves, how so many people are in the hospital and don't need to be dying before their time. How many marriages are ending? Businesses are failing because we don't know how to manage our stress. People are in penitentiary right now serving life sentences because of chronic stress. And as a nurse, as a lifer, as a spiritual activist, this is what I'm here to do. And that's why I love it so much. So sound healing is one of the things that I believe is an answer to it, and was a modality, and along with learning how to detox those soul toxins, and quite frankly, having conversations like this where we can spread the word.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is like, I mean, and this is the listeners know, and we've talked about this before, like, this is like the whole core of this podcast. Like, this message has to be spread as far as it can go, because, and then some on top of it, because we could be the whole group that changes the whole energy. And I wanted to also mention, like, because you said, like, you had mentioned, like, oh, if you're around somebody who's like, being negative or toxic or what have you, like, that's going to affect you 110%. But I will also say that if you are working on yourself, because when I first started working on myself, my big concern was that my husband is mostly living in scarcity.
Yeah.
His mentality lives in scarcity. And a lot of what he would say to me was scarcity talk. And I was like, no, honey, like, I'm running things a little bit differently. Like, let me just do my thing or whatever. And I used to worry when I started down this journey. I was like, oh, I'm trying to better my energy. I'm trying to do better for myself. Like, what if it doesn't work because I have this bad scarcity next to me? Right. And then I've taken courses and stuff with other folks to help me, along this journey, because you can't do it alone. You need some support. And like wonderful people like you, we need support from you guys. And they shared in the course, like, it's okay if your partner's energy isn't matching yours at the moment, because your aura alone, if you continue to stay focused, it actually will start to affect the people around you.
Oh, yes.
And it actually will also start to gravitate people towards you that are in alignment with how you're thinking. And case in point, not for anything, but the podcast, besides my personal life and the gravitation towards like positive people in my personal life, the podcast, the first season 1 was just me and my cousin, shooting the breeze. Season 2 that we're in right now, and I had some guests on, but it was just people I knew because I really didn't know, who else. But I've been putting this energy out there for so long that now we're in the fall season with this recording, and everyone that is on for the fall and going into 2025, all of these people have been brought into my line of sight because of the energy I've been putting out there. And every single person is saying the same thing as Nurse Blue. Like everyone is in alignment, and it's the craziest thing.
I love it.
It's the craziest thing to observe.
Honey, we are getting better. We are cleaning up the act out here. And that's, that's where I'm focused. As a lifer, I have to be focused on life. I cannot focus on, we have mastered fear on this planet. It is time for us to, my syringe is filled with unconditional love. And because I have been taught that perfect love casts out all fear, fear is dis-ease, I'm going to use perfect love to do so. And it's working. It truly is working. I mean, there's so much evidence out here of people who are losing the weight on the inside and it's manifesting on the outside, and people who are reversing disease and preventing disease and creating a movement of wellness. Because really what we're looking for, Jenny, is wholeness. We're looking for wholeness, and soul health is loving your soul out of brokenness back into a state of wholeness. And, our foods impact this movement. As I mentioned to you before, what we see, what we hear, what we say. And there's a lot of things that people suffer from. And two of the main things is ignorance. Quite frankly, a lot of people suffer from the signs and symptoms of ignorance and negative programming. So every time we release programs that can't even take us any further as a collective if we're going to remain in a healthy state. It's just some things it's time to go. And I'm here for that. And I'm helping people realize that once we begin to really decide to love ourselves, you can't have joy without loving yourself. That's what I love about it. You cannot have joy unless you have decided to love yourself. And so, and my whole quest of helping people find their freedom is teaching you that the great emancipator for the soul, the emancipator that you're looking for everything in your life is joy. And once you learn how to master it, you can build your life through it. You can build an empire through it. Or you can just create wonderful children in the spirit of joy. And you're going to have your rough moments. That's part of learning. And forgive, because another soul health nutrient, you better master forgiveness, self-forgiveness, forgiveness of others.
Let go.
And not just, I'll forgive, but I'm not going to forget. Honey, please, that ain't going nowhere. You have to go on a cellular level because you're 80% water, like 70% water. And so a lot of things that we are carrying inside, we don't understand how that's impacting us on a cellular level. So I tell people all the time, if you really want the pinnacle of health, optimal health and wellness, soul health is where it's at. And I can't speak enough of it.
I said to Nurse Blue before we hopped on, I was like, wait, let me hit record because we could probably talk for like 6 to 7 hours. Like it's a little bit whenever we chat. Do you want to talk? And because I wanted to bring this up because I actually want you to chat on this for a second.
Sure.
Blue light technology and what that is in your work.
Yeah. So I operate in the blue because, well, first and foremost, I really believe that blue is, whether you refer to it as God or source or whatever this infinite beingness that we're made of, I think blue is its favorite color. Because for our healing, we look for the blue skies and the blue waters, especially if you're coming down here to Florida, because 74
Yep.
million people a year come here to experience blue skies and blue waters, right? And so,
Absolutely.
yeah, absolutely. And so it's a healing color. It's a very high vibration. And so I'm connected to it because my dad's name was Purvis Spann, the blues man, and he was a musicologist. And he really taught me how to use music as a sound healer, right? And so when he passed, I wanted to keep what he meant to the world and what he meant for me and what he taught me and what I represent as a healer. I decided to become Nurse Blue and do what my dad taught me to do with that blue. Build people, love people, unite. Because as we become whole inside of us, we unite and become love. We can extend ourselves, extend that love to other people and empower people. And that is the technology that will change the civilization. It's simple. Lean into the blue. Everyone who crosses your path, everyone in your family, if they are not connected to their heart space, they might need you to show them the way, right? And perhaps if they are not interested, that's okay because everybody has their journey.
Yep.
But to that extent, the more we build, love, unite, and empower each other, soul health is where it's at. And that's how we heal ourselves and extend it to others.
That's so well put because I think that even like I had mentioned, like there was a concern from my side that I'm like, well, if I'm doing this, is it a waste to do this? Because like, what if no one around me is doing it? I'm like the crazy person, but it's affected me. It's affected my whole family and how we all operate. We're all very in tune to each other's energies. As you mentioned, I have that empath in me, but all of us have it. My husband has it pretty in-depthly, and he'll tell me, like, if we meet new people and he'll say to me, like, oh, and we'll both pick up on it now, like, oh, the vibe was off here. Like, let's not go back to this place, like that kind of thing. And being in tuned with that part of yourself and that energy is like really critical to your health.
Yes,
and there was I had like it's in tune to your physical health, and I'll give an example there too. Like, it's an actual solid example. I had a situation a couple years ago where and I didn't know it, but at the time I was being silenced, and it was people around me trying to silence me, but I wasn't picking up on it. But my energy and my body picked up on it. I lost my voice for about a week. Wow. Like my physical voice was lost. And as a communications professional and a podcaster, that was pretty devastating. So and it happened. And I remember it happening and me being like, oh, that's so strange. Like, I've never actually lost my voice before. Like, this is, I was having to like mime to my kids to like get into the bathroom. And then it passed and I didn't think anything of it. And then it happened again, the same year. Same thing happened. I lost my voice a second time. And when it happened the second time, I actually started to look up chakras. What's happening in my throat? What energies are happening around me that I've lost my voice twice now, because this doesn't make any sense. It's never happened to me before. And I started to really recognize the importance of like how important it is to me and my soul that I'm able to use my voice and I'm able to express myself, and then I'm able to put my opinion out there. And the times that I physically lost my voice were the times where these other people were kind of filtering around me and basically trying to silence me. And ever since I became aware of it, it hasn't happened.
Girl, look at you using your soul technology. I am so happy that
I'm like on it.
Yeah, that's right. And you mentioned something that's so important that everyone should know how to use: their chakra system. People should know of their chakra system, because that's really the energy that we're cleaning up and that we're releasing from the seven chakras. And then also the endocannabinoid system. See, in order for us to remain in balance, in a state of balance, we have to understand the systems that take us out of balance. And the endocannabinoid system, unfortunately, many of our medical doctors haven't even been trained. People have been knowing about this system for over 30 years. So it's not a
Yeah.
secret, right? But when chronic stress is running your life, that's the system that is destabilized. And the chakra system is it's the energy centers that help to either alert us that something is wrong or help us to realign ourselves so that we can go back into a state of balance. And quite frankly, a lot of the prescription drugs, particularly if you're on prescription drugs for an extended amount of time, can destabilize both of these systems. So, I tell people all the time that you have a medicine cabinet within inside of yourself. And you have to understand that peace is necessary. And if you don't have peace within, I promise you it's going to result in a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And right now we're busier than ever, and we're more afraid than ever. And so soul health is taking the time, even if it's like, I tell people, take some small steps. I host sound healing sessions on Clubhouse. It might start with going to a I Deserve Joy party, which I host on Tuesdays. It's a party on an auditory app, and it's so much fun. But what am I doing? I am infusing a soul nutrient that you can enjoy, but music and meditation might start there. Or I also do a self-love party. Find out what it is, what it's all about. And if you are a music lover, you're going to learn about some great music from artists that have created incredible vibrational frequencies,
Oh, yeah.
sound healing, both for our chakras. And then, Jenny, I find artists from all around the world, girl. I mean, I even have my own genres of music, girl. I have a blue soul music genre created by Nurse Blue. Okay.
That's cool.
Soul music that is designed to build you, to love you, to unite us and empower us. I have these artists from all around the world. And really, it's great because what it allows us to do through the lyrics, a lot of times, a lot of what's happening in the soul, you can't necessarily find words to communicate because it's a feeling, experiential. But the right song can help us release it. That's why artists like Aretha Franklin, who my dad personally crowned as the queen of soul, like I told you I was meant to do this.
Wow.
That was what she brought to the world for women in particular. Songs to help us cleanse the conditions of our soul. And so music is used as a medicinal. And then, of course, I teach a lot about detoxification because that's needed. And self-love and self-worth. There are so many women who suffer from low self-worth. And a lot of people, that was passed on to them because if your mother didn't have confidence, your grandmother, the women in your family didn't have confidence, and if you were the bright light, I promise you, they were going to throw some of that pain on you, some of that jealousy, some of that anger, depression, negative stuff. And we move through life carrying that. I did for many, many years. And it was through my own reclaiming my joy. Many people don't even realize, Jenny, we suffer from joy deficiencies. A joy deficiency. I grew up as a child that had everything on the outside, but was so lonely and empty and emotionally bankrupt and mentally confused on the inside because I was a sensitive soul that really only my dad truly understood it. And when people don't understand things, they have a tendency to undervalue it. And as a nurse, I work with special needs kids. And so what special needs kids teach me all the time is that everyone is valuable because what people don't realize about special needs kids, they're here to teach us unconditional love. And I was kind of like a child. That was my only need. And it took me a lot of years to learn how to meet that need for myself. My father, I was a daddy's girl, you can tell. He kind of, he shared with me what that was in his own way. That doesn't mean our relationship was perfect, but he was definitely one of my soul technicians in my life. But what I realized is that through soul health, that journey opened up and revealed the best version of myself today and has given me the confidence to go higher and higher and higher. And that's what wholeness and health and wellness is truly all about.
That was so well put. And it's so, the work you're doing is so important. And it honestly, it's going to impact countless lives, because if you think of the web of people, like even if the individual is coming to you for help and support or going to the website, you have this great, I highly encourage everyone to check out Nurse Blue's website. All the important links are going to be in the description. I already was on there and I was telling Nurse Blue, I was like, oh, I'm signing up for this. Oh, let me get this freebie. Oh, let me do this. Like, because there's so much information on there. I was like, well, I want to be in the groups too. Like, I want to be on the Tuesday parties. You need a little tune-up sometimes, like let's get out there. So all the links are going to be in the episode description. If you're new to the journey and you just want to dip your toe in, like, the book has everything's outlined. It's a working thing for you that you can go to and really start tapping into this, because it's literally going to change the course of your life. My whole life changed when I started to really focus on healing my soul and when I started to fill my cup.
Yes, it does.
So
it does.
It's an incredible thing. Nurse Blue, thank you so much for sharing your journey, sharing all the work that you're doing, and for bringing this to the Steel Roses audience, because I want this audience to be the change in the world. And these are the tools that they need to get there. So this is a huge thank you for me.
Oh, thank you for inviting me, Jenny. You are so great at what you do. And I am so excited about what we're going to do together. You with Steel Roses and myself with this blue movement. I thank you. And I welcome the Steel Roses community to come and enjoy Soul Health through one of my parties. Come and jam with me, girl.
Yeah, I'm honestly super excited about it. I love those. Listeners, thank you for joining us on this. I hope I see you in the parties as well on Tuesdays, because it's honestly, I'm really looking forward to it. Appreciate you listening on this episode, and we'll catch you on the next one.